Hi again. Last week we talked about food and using things we have too much of left over in the fridge or the cupboard.
And we enjoyed everything we made.
Yeah, and I hope you did too. What's this week?
Oh, so this week we were going to go back to the mental emotional piece. I got a text from a client I'm working with who's experienced a lot of anxiety and worry and depression over the years. And we've been working through an issue. And in her text, she made a comment, too bad I'm permanently damaged. Kind of implying, there's no way to fix this. I've just got to keep finding workarounds. And so I wanted to look at that aspect of permanent damage because when there's permanent damage, you need workarounds. And it's my opinion that you can have permanent damage physically to your body in your life. You get in a car accident, they put steel rods in your back. That's going to create some limitation. There's some damage there, and they've done a workaround, and that's a real thing. What she was referring to was trauma in her childhood, that she kind of keeps playing out the same old worrisome, um, overwhelming feelings, kind of like PTSD in a way. And so we've seen how in PTSD situations, some people seem to recover. It doesn't seem to be permanent damage. So, what is that? How does that work? Can we be permanently damaged by past events psychologically, emotionally, and on the level of psychology? So, yeah, the reason I bring it up is because that's those triggers, when we get triggered from old experiences, in order to try and manage the feelings or try and change the feelings, we often turn to food. And that's what we've mentioned before. We would have great success with clients around changing their diet, getting off their meds, eliminating the pain they had, and then sometimes see some of them 6 or 12 months later, and weight was back on, pain was back. The things had reversed. It's like, what happened? It was always that some stress came up, and they started using food again to try and manage the feelings.
Yeah, that's it. Food for comfort.
Food for comfort. Yeah. So that, in my opinion, is not necessary. That's why we started looking into how can we help people with the mental emotional piece? Because if we can deal with that, then when the stress comes up that used to trigger the old reaching for food, they won't be reaching for food. So how do we do that? So it seems to be in the first understanding that we are we have this neuroplasticity. Who we are is not touched by events, but events can create coping mechanisms to deal with them. That's very real. But those coping mechanisms are put in place because it looks like what's occurring is more than we can handle. It's like it's going to throw the circuit breaker. So I've got to find a way out of this. So we do people pleasing or we freeze or whatever it is. We've got to stop that energy from going through. What we've been learning with working with our clients is that if they understand that this is a mental experience, this is a thought that I'm having that looks real. But if they can see, when they begin to see, this is real in the sense that I'm creating a real experience for myself as though it is occurring again.
Like believing I'm permanently damaged is a thought that comes up when we're triggered. by beliefs we hold from the past. It isn't really real.
Yeah, it's a thought. It's psychological energy. It's not a real. It's not solid like a broken back or a broken arm or a removed gallbladder or something. That's permanent change. Um, but this, when we get triggered, the trigger is that, oh, it looks like this is happening again. What happened initially isn't really happening again. But because it seems like we don't turn to any greater resource to deal with it than what occurred when it first came up, and we created a coping mechanism. So we just go back into the coping mechanism. It makes the experience very real again, but it actually isn't the problem that we thought it was initially. Initially, we thought, this is more than I can handle. I think I'm going to die. I mean, when as a child, somebody disses you in front of all your friends, and you go, you're just so embarrassed and you feel so much shame. It feels like you're going to die, but you're not going to die. But we find and establish uh, coping mechanisms to deal with it. So then, as an adult, something comes up and we feel that same shame and embarrassment or whatever. And we go back to it, resonates with the old thing. We go back to our old behavior, which makes it seem real again. Like, I'm going to die. And so we do the coping mechanism. We actually recreate all the same biochemistry, blood chemistry that occurred back then. And it was valuable back then because we didn't have the resource to really stand in our own. But we're adults now and we have this capacity to actually meet the situation in a new way. And the way that most of our clients have found the most success is when they see that, oh my goodness, this really isn't a threat to my life. I'm not really going to die, even though the feelings feel like I could die in the midst of this. They see, oh, this is a thought. This is not really the threat that it appears to be. And in seeing that, they just see through it. It's kind of like the flat earth. How many people believed the earth was flat for how many, I would assume millennia, because it looks so flat. I mean, I walk out here now and I walk and I walk and I walk. There's nothing that tells me the earth is round. It looks like it's flat. And it's the same way when we get triggered. It looks like the same thing is happening again, and I have to use the same coping mechanism. But it's not true. We can actually meet this, whatever they said. Is it really the threat that I'm interpreting it to be? Or is the earth really round, despite the fact that it looks flat? And I'm able to stand in this moment, having somebody criticized me or yelled at me or fired me or whatever else that's creating these strong emotions. Can I stand in that and just let that energy be the way it is? And it tends to move on. What seems to be the key is seeing that, oh, this is a thought, and it's not really what it appears to be. This is the appearance of a flat earth, but I know that it's round and I'm okay. This knowing that who I am is not touched by what they say, by the feelings that come up, and all the rest of that.
By the thoughts that I recreate that keep coming back again and again.
Yeah. So this gets to be a little more subtle. I don't know if I'm making myself very clear here, but if you get a sense that this may be helpful and you would like a little personal guidance, don't hesitate to leave a message in the comment section, and we'd be happy to talk with you more about it. It's made such a difference in our lives because we used to get triggered by each other. And then there would be this wedge between us for who knows how long, longer for me usually than for her. But that just doesn't happen anymore because we see when there's a trigger, oh, that's just me believing some thoughts that my brain is generating that this shouldn't be happening, this shouldn't be the way it is. And I see, oh, well, it is the way it is. And is this really a threat? Well, no. Oh, look, I just see her completely differently then than I would if I keep on holding on to, she shouldn't be saying this, she shouldn't be acting this way, she's whatever. See what I'm getting at?
Now, we had very delicious recipe, and it was yours. So why don't you?
I made a lemon pie bar. You see, this came out of the story we shared last week. We had a gazillion. It seemed like, oh, we had a lot of lemons. And Connie just looked in the fridge and says, what are we going to do with all these lemons? So I came up with a lemon pie bar. I've never made a lemon pie before, but I enjoyed it. That was one of my favorite pies my mother would make. So I thought, what about a lemon pie bar? Because I like bars more than pies, and I was never good at the pie crust stuff, and that uses a lot of flour and refined grains, plus the butter and the sugar and all the rest of it. We don't do that. So we made a lemon pie bar, and once you get started, it's hard to stop. They disappeared pretty quick.
Ah, they're gone now. They were so good. We only made them yesterday. So enjoy the recipe. It's really worth a try.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us again, and we'll be back again next week.
And Merry Christmas. Enjoy this holiday of love that's coming up.
Bye bye.